So today we have started step 2 of research process, which includes what? Problem structure, study design, experimental study, and non-experimental study, and many more. So research process is preparing research design and study design. Preparing research design and study design is the second step of research process. Research design is a critical step in research planning. It serves as a roadmap for conducting research. It addresses questions like the scope of the study, data collection, methods, and analysis technique. It gives justification for decision is essential due to resource constraints. Research design aligns with research objectives and guides data collection. It outlines procedures and help determine factors like sample size and analysis type. It's a structured strategy for investigating research questions and controlling variables. Overall, research design ensures an organized and effective research study. And there are some consideration to conduct our research design, to create our research design. There will always be objective of research study, selection of method of data collection, very important, source of information and sample design, tools for data collection, data analysis. Analysis will be qualitative or quantitative, any of between them, or maybe both. Now next is research design achieve the following purpose. So why we make a research design? To achieve some purposes. So what are the purposes? It makes research efficient, optimum utilization of resources, maximum information with minimum expenditure, time and money, right? This is very important. Minimum expenditure, time constraints are there, and money is also important part. So it what it do, it do a optimum utilization of resources, maximum information with minimum expenditure, time and money. This is very important purpose. Next is flexibility, to give a flexibility to your research. Minimization of bias, it controls the biasness of the research. And reliability, and to achieve objectivity. Now see, now we will understand different type of designs which used in research, and it comes under methodology. When you go to present your paper or synopsis, you need to give a presentation in front of a institute members. So what you need to do, you have to prepare complete short information about your research synopsis, means how will you going to conduct your research. So you have to prepare your presentations. First introduction you will give, second you will give about hypothesis, literature review, and then methodology come. In methodology, under the methodology topic, you have to provide complete information, where research design is very important. Questions will come, what kind of design you will use to conduct your study to get final outcome. So it is very important. So study design based on number of contexts. So number of contexts means there are two type. What are the type? Cross sectional studies. Remember this word, cross sectional studies. In cross sectional studies, data is collected only once during the research process, right? When you start your research, and if you are using cross sectional studies, you only once use your means data collection will be used, will be done only one time during your research process. So like for instance, collecting data about the holiday preference of software professional in India. So you are doing it one time, you will not ask again and again with the same people. So this kind of study is cross sectional studies. Next is longitudinal studies. In longitudinal studies, data is collected at multiple points in time. For example, testing the efficacy of a drug. by collecting data on patients' health conditions over several intervals. Longitudinal studies basically it's a very long study. It use like long time. So it is longitudinal studies which is used to where data is collected at multiple points in time. Means like DNA testing of a particular species is a comes under longitude sorry behavior and other whatever, like from the childhood to the certain age, all such kind of individual persons studies comes under longitudinal studies. Or HR, another example of a longitudinal study is HR department collecting data on employee satisfaction before and after pay raises or promotion. Similarly, marketers may gather data on the impact of advertisement on sales over a time. So it takes time. Second, first we have understand about study design based on number of contacts. Second is study design based on reference period. So what it includes? It includes retrospective study design. This design investigate past phenomena or situation. For instance, studying historical event or trends. So this when you study historical event or trends, so you will use this word retrospective study design. Somebody will ask you what kind of design you are using. You can say that retrospective study design I'm using for my research. Prospective study design. This design looks at the likely future prevalence of a phenomena. It involves forecasting and predicting future trends or occurrence. So this kind of study is called prospective study, where predicting or forecasting future trends or occurrence of a phenomena. Combined approach. Some study designs may incorporate elements of both. Right? Combined approach will include what? Retrospective, like they will understand historical events also and would like to do a predicting or forecasting future trends from that. So that call combining approach. Third is, first we have understood about number of contacts. Second, reference period. Third one is nature of investigation. Based on study design based on nature of investigation. So nature of investigation comes under experimental study. Means experimental study come under nature of investigation. In experimental studies, researcher manipulate independent variable, and it is also the cause to observe its effect on a dependent variable. It is effect. This includes treatment groups, right? When you do an experimental study, if you go for a research paper, they use randomized control design, RCT, they say that. So all these are experimental studies where you see a randomized word or RCT word, or this word mention that this study is an experimental study. Why it is experimental in study, and what kind of things they do in an experimental study? So in an experimental study, they use two groups. Like they have selected, if they have selected a sample like 40 people they have selected, so what they will do, they distribute, they divide it in 2020 group, and the 20 group, one group will get an experiment, and another group who will not get any experiment is called a control group. So experimental group receive the treatment. Example, a student taught with a new teaching method, or a patient given a new medicine. So who will get a treatment is called experimental group, and a control group does not receive the treatment, used as a basis for a comparison. So control group just why we keep in experimental study, to compare with the treatment group. Example, student taught with a traditional method. So these designs help researchers investigate cause and effect relationship. So, for example, a pharmaceutical company could conduct an experimental study to test the impact of a new drug on patient health. So, the experimental group receive the new drug while the control group does not. By comparing the outcome, researcher can assess the drug's effectiveness. And when he will do this study, he will use randomization. Like among 40 people, what he will do, he will randomize, select his samples. 20 people he will select randomly, and he will separate it, and rest will be, he will keep under control group. Next is non-experimental study. First we have understood about experimental. Now second one is non-experimental study. So in a non-experimental study, are retrospective, focusing on effect to trace causes, right? They explore existing data and are often used to compare opinions from natural groups. Independent variable and dependent variable are still used in non-experimental study. Example, comparing the job satisfaction level of employee in two different departments without implementing any changes. So this is non-experimental study definition and example. Other type of study designs, action research. What is action research? Action research is problem solving research initiated to address immediate issue. What is the example of action research? A teacher conducting action research to identify and improve classroom practice in response to the student performance issues. Another type is cohort studies. So what is cohort? Is based on common characteristic of large groups such as birth year, graduation, or marriage. Large groups, or like army is itself a big group. It is a category, a different kind of groups, that is called cohort studies, analyzing the career path of MBAs who graduated during an economic crisis in 1991. Or another example is studying people born between 1995 and 2000. So this they have they have converted into a group. So such kind of studies is called cohort, or it is a design of cohort studies.
Sir, in action research, do they follow all the steps? Like, do they have introduction, hypothesis,
Yes, yes. Every,
hypothesis?
see, this is that is the part of writing, research writing. So you need to prepare a document what you have done. So it is a story, and a story is in a outline form.
Okay. Though it is iterative, like generally they look at some issue with the existing process and then they try to update it by planning, then acting, then refining and observing, something like that. There are 4 steps where they follow iteratively for bringing out an improvement in the existing product or process. Right. For
Uh,
that also they have to follow all the steps of a research
yes,
properly.
following steps is very important in research. If you escape or lose any step, then result or outcome may be biased or different.
Okay. Right, sir. So the documentation remains the same irrespective of the type of research.
Writing will be remain same. You have to make a chapters and thesis,
Yeah.
and in chapters you have to give some headlines, that also called outlines. And
Yeah.
from that headlines you have to give some introduction, means give some paragraph of details of particular headlines.
Yeah. Right, sir.
So another design is placebo design. This design basically used in drug trials. What they do in a placebo trials, uh, it is like an experimental study design where they use 3 groups. One is experimental group who is actually getting treatment. Another group, same as control group, who is not getting treatment, but one group is also there who is getting treatment, but on a place of drug, what they are using sugar pills. And they said that okay, you are also getting treatment. So they try psychology over there, or actual drug response. So this kind of design is called placebo designs. Placebo design involve giving patient a treatment impression only, when in reality they receive a placebo or a no treatment at all. Purpose to explore the impact of perception on patient's recovery. Example, conducting a study on the effectiveness of a new pain medication. One group receives the actual medication, the second group receives a placebo, like sugar pills, and the third group control receives nothing. The study evaluates how patient perception influence their reported pain relief. Right? So this is placebo design. So,
Sir, in placebo design, then we have three groups.
yes.
We have three groups in placebo design.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that is the question.
You want to ask something?
Yeah, I'm saying that do we have three groups in placebo design?
Placebo always use three groups.
Okay.
One group receive treatment. One group will receive what? See, purpose is impact of perception on patient's recovery is the purpose of placebo design.
In clinical trials, where they use medicines, like in proper clinical research, I have seen studies where there are placebo studies where there's only treatment and placebo. There's no control in some studies, because I've worked in research. That is why there were studies where there was no control group. There was a treatment and a placebo. So comparison between treatment group and placebo group was done in the analysis part.
It depends on
Yeah,
objectivity.
design. It depends on the what the
Objective,
biostatistician
it
can do.
depends on, but in a general view, they in a particular design, it always use three groups.
Yeah,
But,
because it
right,
gives a better
better results.
outcome,
Yes,
better result.
yes.
Yes.
So anyone can repeat what study designs we have went through so far?
Probably we would need the help of slides, but
See,
we
first
did,
we have cross-sectional,
cross-sectional is
longitudinal.
collecting data at one point in
Just
time.
say the name only. Cross-sectional,
Longitudinal,
longitudinal, then
retrospective,
huh?
then the future thing,
Prospective.
Right, prospective,
Yeah.
yes, and combined.
Combined.
Yeah.
Then
Experimental, non-experimental.
very good. Then
Action, research, cohort study, and placebo.
placebo. So these are the basic research designs. So you see these include your methodology. Research methodology will depend on the means this design will come under the head of a research methodology, right? Now we are coming on a third step of research process. So first we have understood, like we have to set a variables, we have to set a hypothesis, formulation of a problem, literature review, we have done it. Second step, now methodology introduced, and in a methodology we have set our design. Now two things have been done. Now time is coming to developing data collection instruments or a tool. So firstly we understand what is data in a research. So data represent information used to represent facts about hypothesis variable, right? They are analyzed to assess consistency with research predictions, often formulated as hypothesis. Consistency supports the null hypothesis, while inconsistency leads to its rejection. So this is about data. Data is basically the facts and figures which we need to get our results or a relation or a cause and effect relations. These all data represent gives us information about what is the relation between the variables, and a outcome will depend on the data. So quality depends on data collection tool. Your collection tool is very important because it gives quality. The quality and validity of research output heavily rely on the tools employed for data collection. So tools are very important, and it should be valid and reliable. If your tool is not valid or reliable, it will not give a proper result. So the research quality is also depend on your research tools, and your research tool which you are using in your research should also be valid and reliable. Types of data. Data can be categorized as primary or secondary. So in primary, what we do, we use fresh data, and in secondary, what we do, we use already means the data available in the different kind of reports, or available with old researches, thesis. That data we use for in our research, that data is called secondary, and fresh data is called primary. Then it is also divided into objective or subjective. So objective means where we use fixed, means something has already set that cannot be changed, is objective data, which is free from any biasness. Tree is a tree. And subjective data means individual perspectives. The data which we collect, individual perspective, is subjective data. And qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative means where the data is attribute we use in qualitative, and quantitative means where we use numbers. Primary data versus secondary data. So primary data collected directly for the current research project through surveys, observation, or experiment. It's reliable but can be expensive and challenging to obtain, right? And secondary data obtained from external sources like media, books, or the internet. It's cost effective and quick, but may lack relevance and credibility. So remember this word. The questions can come primary data. They can ask you about, is it easy to get what kind of data easy to collect. So they can give you primary data, secondary data. Such kind of questions may come in examination. Objective. Sorry.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, in objective and subjective data, when we say that subjective data can be individual's opinion, so this individual is the researcher you're saying, or this is from the population group?
From the population, because where you are getting data, from the sample you will get a data.
Yeah, yes.
So then from the point of the sample, it is objective or a subjective.
Okay.
Right. So here is we are understanding objective and subjective, independent of personal opinions, not influenced by individual perspective. Right. This is objective data. And subjective data can be influenced by individual opinions or the researcher's viewpoint. So this is subjective data. Where qualitative versus quantitative data. Qualitative data is descriptive, not represented by numbers, often derived from unstructured interview, requires researcher interpretation. Right. Qualitative data required researcher interpretations. Here researcher have to give interpretation of the data. But in quantitative data, numerical measurements representing properties of things suitable for statistical analysis requires large sample for generalizability. So this is what about data. So anyone can repeat about the data? Start. Tell me what is data, type of data.
So
Yeah,
data is that which we collect based
it is the
from
fact
the
and
sample.
figures, right?
Yeah, it's the facts and figures. There are
Yes.
different types of data. We have primary data, which is
Uh,
the data that we collect from the samples directly. In
Yes,
the
fresh data.
yeah, the
Primary is a
fresh
fresh data.
and secondary data is that which was
Already
already there, and we are using it for the research.
research, right? This is secondary data. And it may be objective and subjective and qualitative and quantitative,
Quantitative.
right? Now, what we are step 3 includes what we are understanding right now.
How to collect?
No, we are talking. We are understanding tools, instruments, research instruments
Okay.
for collection data. Right. So, first tool is observation. So there are different kind of observation to collect data. First is a structured observation. In a structured observation used in a descriptive research, involve predefined and systematic data collection. Unstructured observation used in exploratory research allow for flexible data collection without rigid guidelines. Participant observation, researcher actively participate in the observed environment. Non-participant observation, researcher observe without direct involvement. And disguised observation, observe remain incognito without revealing their purpose. First tool, instrument, research tool or research instrument is observation. There are type of observation: structured, unstructured, participant, non-participant. Structured used and descriptive research involve predefined and systematic data collection, right? Unstructured used in exploratory research allow for flexible data collection without rigid guidelines. Participant observation, researcher actively participate in the observed environment. And a non-participant means researcher observe without direct involvement. And disguised observation means remain incognito without revealing their purpose. And this observation has a limitations. What limitations? Some behaviors are unobservable, like feeling and beliefs. So when you use this tool, you remember the limitations of this tool. Infrequent behavior may be challenging to observe. Observation method can be costly, right? Another type of research instrument is survey method. Survey is also a research type, and it is also a tool. Survey method, survey research is different thing, and survey method tool is a different thing. So word are similar, so it may confuse us. Survey method means we are talking about research instrument, and survey research means it is a particular research type. Sometimes observation method is supplemented with survey method. This approach is most suited for gathering descriptive information, and this research may be direct or indirect. It is of two types. Survey method has a two type: structured and unstructured. So we have we have understood first method of research instrument is observation. Observation was having 5 type. Second is survey method. Survey method is having 2 type. Structured survey, they use formal list of questions to be asked from all responded in the same manner. And unstructured surveys, they give the interviewer the flexibility to probe respondent and direct and interview according to their answers. See, we need to know about structured, and the name is itself showing that which is something systematic is called structured, and which is where some flexibility is there is called unstructured. From the questions you can understand from the options also. If question is asking something systematic or aligned, so from the options you can choose that is talking about structured, you can select that option from the questions. And advantages of survey method. Now some advantage is there in survey method: quick and low cost in comparison to observation method. He is comparing from observation method. It is quick and low cost. This is the advantage of survey method. Survey method can be administered to collect many different type of information. So these are the two major advantage of survey method. Where limitations also there. What are the limitation? Privacy issue in survey method, reluctance on the part of respondents, and biasness. So these are the limitations of a survey method. Another research instrument is contact methods. Contact methods include mail questionnaires. Mail questionnaires has a different advantages and limitation. What advantages? Mail means contact method like mails, telephone, personal interview, all this come under the contact methods research instruments or a tool. So first is mail questionnaire. It includes collecting large amount of information at low cost per respondent. These all the benefits whatever we have a mail questions. Where it has also a limitations. Respondent may give more honest answers to personal questions on a mail questionnaire. It is unbiased as no interviewer is involved. Convenient for respondent who can answer when they have a time. Good way to reach people who travel. And what are the limitation? It is not flexible. It takes longer time to complete than telephonic or a personal interview. It has low response rate, little control of researcher over the process. Another is telephonic interview. So I'll share these slides to you. Just read and understand. Advantage and limitations are the opposite of the advantages. It is quick method. It gives greater flexibility to interview as he can explain questions not understand properly by the respondent. Is greater sample control. It has a higher response rate. Whereas the limitations high cost per respondent as an interviewer should be more skilled. Privacy issues, complete standardization is not possible. Wrong entry is not possible due to lack of time. Whereas in intercept interview is basically come under the personal interview. And personal interview there are two type: intercept interview and focus group interview. So these also have a advantage and disadvantage. So intercept interview, where intercept interview or a personal interview in intercept interview, they always use a group of 6 to 10 people. So it is widely used in marketing research such as tourism, like, and it allows the research to reach known people in a short period of time. It is the only method of reaching people whose names and addresses are unknown. It involves talking to people at homes, offices, on the street, or in a shopping mall. The interviewer must gain the interview's cooperation. It is time consuming and may range from a few minutes to several hours. For longer surveys, compensation may be offered. It involves the use of judgmental sampling, that is, the interview has guidelines as to whom to intercept, such as 25% under 20 years of age and 75% over 60 years of age. And whereas the intercept has a limitations, there is a greater room for error and bias on the part of interviewer who may not be able to correctly judge age, race, and etc. Interview may not be comfortable talking to certain ethnic or age group. And last is focus group. Focus group advantages is speed up data collection, offer flexibility, facilitate interaction, provide stimulation, establish safety, allow data collection scrutiny. Disadvantages: do not provide conclusive result are not focus group means sorry, I have told you that intercept interviewing having 6 to 10 people group, actually that is for focus group, not for the intercept group. That they also have a larger amount of people who are asking, like it is happening in a shopping mall on the street. So this may also have a group, but in focus group they have a particular 6 to 10 people kind of groups. So this is all about research instruments. Hello,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
any questions?
No, sir.
Right, so we have completed 3 steps, and in next class we understand about step 4, step 5, or step 6. So we'll complete it in the next week. So it's time to conclude it.
Sir, how many more classes, sir? 3 or 4 more classes to complete?
Next is ethics and ICT is pending, so we'll complete in next week, next week.
Right. Okay, sir.
Or we can do it on a Saturday if possible. We can take a long class, 2 hours class. In that we can complete it if you all are agree for that.
Anything is fine with me, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, चलिए नमस्कार. Thank you.
Namaskar, sir.